So the first 13 chapters of our psychology textbook focus on the individual with topics ranging from consciousness to cognition and personalities to behavior. In this video, I will be talking about social psychology, which is about understanding individual behavior in a social context. As a review, I will first be going over some of the big theorists and theories, as well as some of the most controversial experiments conducted. Up first, we have Canadian native Albert Bandura and his contributions to the social learning theory. He conducted an experiment that went like this. 3 groups of children watch a video where an adult exhibited aggressive behavior towards a Bobo doll, and then were either rewarded by another adult for the behavior or punished for it. Children who had seen the adult rewarded were found to be more likely to copy such behavior. Bandura then outlined some main takeaways, which included 1. Learning is not purely behavioral, rather it's a cognitive process. 2. Learning can occur by observing a behavior and its consequences, or vicarious reinforcement. 3. Learning involves observation. 4. Reinforcement plays a role in learning, but is not entirely responsible for learning. And 5. Cognition, environment, and behavior all mutually influence each other, which we know as reciprocal determinism. Next, we move on to Polish psychologist Henri Tajfel. Tajfel formulated the concept of social identity as a way to explain in-group behavior. In order to increase our self-image, we enhance the status of the group to which we belong. We can also increase our self-image by discriminating and holding prejudiced views against the outgroup, which is the group we don't belong to. For example, America is the best country in the world. The English, French, etc. are a bunch of losers. Therefore, we divided the world into them and us, based on a process of social categorization. This is known as in-group and out-group. Social identity theory states that the in-group will discriminate against the out-group to enhance their self-image. Henri Tajfel proposed that stereotyping is based on a normal cognitive process, the tendency the group thinks together. In doing so, we tend to exaggerate the differences between groups and the similarities of things in the same group. American psychologist Gordon Allport coined the term social facilitation. This is the phenomenon such that the presence of a social group can facilitate certain behavior. It was found that stadium spectators would improve an athlete's performance. This idea was further explored when some studies showed that the presence of passive audience facilitated the better performance of a simple task, while other studies showed that the presence of a passive audience inhibited the performance of a more difficult task, one that was not practiced, possibly due to psychological pressures or stress, which goes hand in hand with Yerkes-Dawson's law of arousal. Fellow American psychologist Leon Festinger proposed the idea that when we hold beliefs, attitudes, or cognitions which are different, we experience discomfort. This is known as cognitive dissonance. We are motivated to reduce this by either changing one of our thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes to support one of our beliefs and ignore the other. Dissonance occurs when there are difficult choices or decisions, or when people participate in behaviors that is contrary to their attitude. The last theory I will be reviewing is the attribution theory, which was developed by yet another American psychologist, Bernard Weiner. Dr. Weiner was interested in the idea that we look for explanations for behaviors in the social world. He believed in his 3-dimensional model, which explained the attribution theory based on 3 areas. First is locus of control, which we learn could be internal or external. Second is stability, which is whether the cause is stable or changes over time. For example, let's say I get a D on my psychology exam. If I attribute the grade to the fact that I always have bad luck, I'm making a stable attribution. If I attribute the grade to the fact that I don't have much time to study that specific week, I'm making an unstable attribution. Third is controllability. Controllability contrasts cause one can control, such as skill and efficacy, from causes one cannot control, such as aptitude, mood, and luck. Okay, now on to 2 of the most controversial experiments. First up, we have American psychologist Stanley Milgram. Milgram gathered participants and told them they are taking part in a study on learning, but always acted as the teacher when they were then responsible for going over paired associated learning tasks. When the learner, or really a stooge, got the wrong answer, they were told by a scientist that they had to deliver an electric shock. This did not actually happen, although the participants were unaware of this, as they had themselves a sample shock at the start of the experiment. They were encouraged to increase the voltage given after each incorrect answer up to a maximum voltage. It was found that all participants gave shocks up to 300 volts with 65% reaching the highest level of 450 volts. It was concluded that obedience is most likely to occur in an unfamiliar environment and in the presence of an authority figure, especially when covert pressure is put on people to obey. The other experiment was conducted by Philip Zimbardo, and by now you have a good idea what nationality he probably is. Stanford volunteers took part in a simulation where they were randomly assigned the role of a prisoner or a guard and taken to a converted university basement resembling a prison environment. There was some basic loss of rights for the prisoners, who were unexpectedly arrested, given a uniform and an identification number, therefore de-individuated, or the loss of a sense of identity. The study showed that conformity to social roles occurred as a part of the social interaction, as both groups displayed more negative emotion and hostility and dehumanization became apparent. Prisoners became passive, while guards assumed an active, brutal, and dominant role. Although normative and informational social influence had a role to play here, de-individuation seemed likely to lead to conformity. And for my acquired new topic, I will address one of the applications of social psychology in the health field. Social health psychology concerns the psychological variables that influence physical health and illness, and has become a dominant force in the health science, a field to which social psychological theories and research have much to offer. The major in health and social psychology offers training in research and theories relevant to health promotion. Faculty and students work together on projects focused on gender and health, cancer prevention and health education, reproductive health and STD prevention, the effects of stress and mechanisms of coping with it, and child abuse prevention. And there you have it, my 7-minute crash course video on social psychology. Hope you enjoyed it.